You could say, well, the first question is, why do we need to use contour? What advantages would it be for me as an operator? What advantages would it be for my machine? Well, there are several. It makes the operator's job easier, and it's also a lot easier on your head. We have some pieces out there that are damaged, probably because of not using contour. Some gauge wheels that were broken, and some cracks in the head. And this year, some of you have seen this before. This year we have a scale system that we actually can show how much weight you can put down this head when you don't use contour, or even if you don't use it properly, how much weight you put on it, and the differences, and how much weight is on the head when you use it properly. And it's surprising how much you can put on it versus what it's supposed to have on it. So that being said, let's go outside first. And we've got some props out there, and I'll show you some things on the machine that are related mostly to 492, but points in the head relate to whatever machine you have. If you have a 491, 492, 494. So let's go outside first.
Of course, this is off of a big head, but this one, you can see it's been cracked and re-welded. One of the things that was pointed out to us is now this head will oscillate the other way as well when you undo that lock. What happens a lot is guys will lock it into transport so the head won't pivot, and then when they get in the field they don't unlock that, and then they'll get on some of these little off-camber areas, and that puts a whole bunch of strain. So this is actually pretty common on these big heads to see all this breakage, and it's usually caused from not unlocking your transport lock on your head. Okay? Whether this is a contour problem or not, it's pretty hard to tell. Those most likely are contour problems, where you've actually blown the center hubs clean out of the rims. For a long time, Kloss would warranty these things. They're not even going to warranty them anymore because they're saying, hey, we'll warranty it if we actually got a failure, but how do we know if the guy's using contour or not? And so they kind of gave us a little bit of heck over it and said, make sure you're teaching them how to use contour. Then we'll start warrantying this stuff again. That one there is, they've added that brace on it in order to keep that thing from bending. Keep in mind, these wheels, they don't pivot much. They're pretty much locked into space, so we don't want to be skidding them around the corners on the headlights. We want to make sure we're picking that thing up high enough to make that corner before we set them back down. And that's probably what's caused that.
Okay. Guys, let's come around to this side, left side of the machine. How many of you, I see one, 2 at least, 494 machines in this group. 3. not apply to you. On a 492 anyway, there's this suction valve down here. When you change over heads from your corn head to the fall, putting the grass head on, you have to change this valve over. You have to do it with the head all the way down, or the feed rolls all the way down. The machine shut off with no pressure. If you don't do that, it won't work properly. The other point on this side here is this narrow knob is a head drop brake valve, and your head's dropping too quickly. You want to adjust that. If it's going too slowly, you want to use that to adjust it. Like I said, if you have a 494, it doesn't have any of this. It's all done in the SEVA system in the cab. The other things that do apply to machines have are check your tine height, how high the tines are off the ground, and you might take a little trial and error, do a windrow or so, and make sure that it's picking up like you'd like it to and not leaving any, or vice versa, not picking up dirt. You want to set them first. What we found out last night is that by shoving this head down on the ground, and this head has 14 inches of travel in the suspension. It's the only head, nobody else makes a head with suspension. And so you can shove this head down, but basically what you're doing is you're not, the wheels and the pickup frame here are all in one piece. That's not part of the suspension. If you're trying to shove the head down to pick up little grass and it's missing, all you're doing is putting more weight onto the gauge wheels. If you don't have the gauge wheels adjusted right, it's not going to work properly. Then, once you got that done, and that's easy enough done by the buttons on the fender over on the side here, you can stand out here and do that. And then look at this roller, and there's one on that side too, that runs in a valley here. About like so. You want to have that roller in the center of that valley. Over here, if you've got a newer tow head like this one is, it also has a slot with what we call a cut in the center, and you want to have that centered in the middle. It's kind of like having a half-ton pickup that you put 1,200 pounds in. It'll be down on the ground and you've got no room for suspension or bumps. Once you've got that set and your pickup, your tine height is set, and your gauge wheel set, there is a pointer over there on the side that you can see from the cab. Now when we set these heads up, it comes with a little piece of reflective tape in the box. So we don't put them on because there can be quite a bit of variation in machine to machine, tire sizes, etc. All that stuff can be different. And if you're a taller operator, you like to have the seat setting up, or a shorter guy with the seat setting up, or whatever, you may look at that down at the cab, and since you look at that pointer down in the cab at an angle, you and the lighting person want to set that and put that tape up here where you can see it where the two line up. And you use that only for reference, because as you're going through the field, the head will fluctuate and that will change back and forth. It's only really a reference. So now, let's go inside. Steve will fire this thing up and we'll play with it. Where is it? So heavy. One nice tool we have this year, guys, is the scale system. And we can see how much weight this head can put down on the ground. This head weighs 2,640 pounds. And we put 2,530 some down on the ground by using what I call manual mode, the top and the bottom of the buttons, running it manual without using contour. And the other thing that happens when you do that, when you're shoving the head down on the ground, you'll notice that the auger lifts off the bottom of the floor, so it will not feed properly as well. Besides putting a lot of weight down on the ground on the gauge wheels. Now, there was 2,500 pounds versus using contour, which will put it, give or take, 400 or 500 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood. And it's quite a difference. The other thing that happens, interestingly, we found out, is even if you're using contour but you're not using it properly or you don't have it set properly, it still will not put as much weight down on the ground. We'll simulate this again. Now we'll go to contour all the way down. It still takes weight off of it, and you're at 600 pounds less than we were not using contour at all. So even if you don't have it set right, it's still easier on the head. But we'll show you how to set it right. So you like to play with buttons? But I'm going to make it all messed up for you. Okay, the head is all right now. We use the right side of the switch for raising. We use the left side of the switch for lowering. The left side is contour, the right side is preset height. We're already down, so why don't you get the right side of the switch? And since I messed it all up, I'll do this for everybody. You've now got the right side function. Well, it's confused. It's turned down so far that it thinks it needs to go down. We want it off the ground about a foot. So adjust that dial until you've got it up about a foot.
Times at the foot?
The gauge rules. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay, now go to the other side of the button. And I messed that up too. So now, turn it down. Until you're pretty close. A little more. And you find, guys, that you have to make a cycle sometimes to get it right. And, or sometimes I'll go a little past and come back a little bit, so the next time it might be off just a little bit, but you're close. You're right in the neighborhood. So, one more trial run. There you go. There it is.
Hi.
Mike.
How are you running?
I get to run it here.
Yep.
Okay, so.
You just hold the button.
this side of the button.
Oh, it says I gotta go all the way.
It's all confused. I got it totally crossed.
Yeah.
I do that to everybody. You're very close. Moss doesn't give us any weight rating as to how much weight they want put on those wheels. They just tell us they want to use concrete. Cool. Yeah. That's okay. See, the other thing is, we got fuel pads.
We got a little bit right.
Okay.
Principle is the same. Think of it like that. On your joystick, you have an actual button for each one of these functions. And you have the knobs. It's just things in a different place.
See, for some reason on theirs, there's like this don't work. So we just go off of the page and just kind of go from there.
I'll show you how it's supposed to work. Okay, we're already up in the air, so why don't you hit that side of the button, which should go down. Let it go, because I'm messing all right. So now you function at that side, so you can adjust that button.
Oh, I see. So you want it put off the ground or center?
No, this is concrete. So we want this down and down. Your head goes, you want to that.
If your browser sitting on it, that's where they hide the lift.
Wires here, because this tire is made to get more pressure on. On the other one, it's that wire, and then we go on the side.
That's here. That's retained right in the
This way, we set it, and just the one button. There's something called that actually shoots over. But it doesn't.
Well, the nice thing about it, it'd be nice if it were to do right irrigation.
David.
My turn.
It did, Mike.
Yeah, the head's already up, so let's go to this side of the button after we do this. It's done in, you'll see this in the dash, that all done in the dash. This is all the same. The other thing, guys, that's the same is the dash, you can see this, or CIS like this is. When you function the right side of the button, it'll activate an A, which is what you see on the very right side of the display here. When you function the left side of the button, it activates, it switches, and activates an A over the other side. The A means active. And a bar graph will come out there. It really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean PSI. It doesn't mean bar. All it means is it's just a reference. If you know that in your mind you like to run at 7 or 8 or 9 on the bottom side, you know that you can change that at any time and it follows the change that you made. It's just a reference point. It's not, you really need to pay attention and watch the head, get out and watch the head every so often. It's only a reference point.
It's a lot easier to be received than it is this.
Yeah. Mark. Now that we selected the low and the downside, come up with pretty close. Okay, trial run, once more. There we go. Jason.
Something else. No, it's not so much on my side as the other side.
Pass the test. Mark, you want to give it a try? I know you're used to 494 now. Good, fantastic. Gail? The sides of the button. No. Sides of the button. Okay, now, I messed you all up. So this side is activated, and that's actually the upside. So keep going until the gauge is off the ground. Oh, this one is not. There we go. Okay. Now hit the other side of the button. wants to go up. You turn it down, it's going up. This one. Whichever one is activated is the one that's functioning. You can change the other one, it's not going to respond. Okay, now draw a run, put out. Now you want to hit it twice. Just hit it once.
That's why I don't back out.
Now that, close.
No, I can adjust the shirt.
You can adjust it right here.
Just here.
The one that's, the light that's activated. Come off a little bit.
I think it would be a, probably.
Keep going. Keep going. Oh, not much. And now we use that side button. Close. One more topic to cover is when you're running a corn head, you will only use the right side of the button. And there's actually 2 preset heights in that right side. The reason we do that is because the left side is for contour, which is one thick light flow on the ground. The right side is for preset heights only. And so we can kind of do it here, but it doesn't respond properly because we don't have a heavy enough head. But there I hit it once on the right side, and here I hit it again. So that would probably be the down position in your corn head, and hit it again, and the up position in your corn head. So for guys that have, it works the same way in 494, and we printed off since the book is so confusing, it's got 3 different contour systems in it. The more you study it, the more confused you get, the bigger your head it gets. We put our heads together and wrote it all out. We have a sheet here, how to set your grass head contours on the top, your corn head contours on the bottom. If you've got a 491, it's similar. The 494 uses the same principle, except that it's all done to seams. So, Steve?
Everybody understand contour, you know, and how it works, you know, it's reading that pressure. And if that pressure goes up, in other words, you go through a dip and you're getting more pressure, then it will adjust and raise that head up to get that pressure to wherever you have the dial set or wherever we have in the 4x4 machine see this set. Okay? So, this is right out of the tech manual. 2 types of contour systems. There's contour and there's auto contour. I don't know any auto contour around where we're at here. Auto contour is where you're running off of these sensing bands on a big head. I talked to a guy today that had been to Australia and actually looked at some of this stuff, and he said that they're running a lot of ear leech and they have the big combine corn heads on it, and so there they'll run auto contour in order to get that oscillation side to side. That's what auto contour is about. The other thing is that's why this band is here in CBIS, and we're only able to use this much of it is because this is saved for auto contour. That's what that is. If you had auto contour on it when you had the sensing bands, you're going to be, of course, adding another module into the computer, and there's actually going to be a third arrow here. So that's what, just to let you know, I get a lot of questions on why can't I raise this upper limit up past that? Well, you can't, because that's the range we'll give you in contour. 494 machine is exactly the same way as a 492 machine when it comes to the position of the button. Left side of the button, left side of the bar graph, right side of the button, right side of the bar graph. Remember, the right side is strictly working off the potentiometer. Wherever you set the head, that's where it's going to be. That's why we typically run that just the right side in with a corn head. Okay? Because you're basically setting your low limit, cutting into the row, you're hitting the button again, and it's going to the upper set point, and away you go. Okay? Everybody following me so far? 494, we got a road travel switch. Contour won't work unless we're in field mode and our main drive's engaged. You're going to pull in the field, you're going to set your height of your pickup and start chopping. In 494 machines, we don't have the dials, we save it by pressing and holding the contour switch for 3 seconds, about 3 seconds, it'll actually beep at you. So once you dive into the field, you'll go down with the down button. You'll go down with the down button until you get your little mark out there in your head set. And once you're there, you'll press and hold the contour side, just press and hold the button down. It's going to beep at you. Now it's saved that setting. Okay? If you hit the button again, it's going to toggle between the two set points. Okay? If you want to set this point, you do it exactly the same way. You're on this lower arrow, you're going to lower the head to where you want it, press and hold the button for 3 seconds, it's going to beep at you, and it's set. Okay? Nice thing about this is you can change this all on the fly while you're chopping. If this one's a little bit too low for you, just bump it up a little bit with the up arrow and then press and hold the contour button and it's safe. So, you know, it's really simple. Guys over in Eastern Washington use the two sides quite a bit because of all the irrigation tracks on all the pivots. And so when they come up to the irrigation track, they'll just tap the button once, it'll shift it up to the higher set point. Once they're past it, they'll tap it again and then lower it back down. Okay? Questions about that? The difference between how you set it up. No dials. I love this. I'm a big 494 guy, so this is all I love it. So buy 494 machines. When we flip over to the right side, this is strictly just wherever that potentiometer is. So in other words, wherever height you set that head at, that's where it's going to stay. Okay, you're not in contour anymore. You're just in your high stock. And they give you two settings, of course, and that's the way you'd use it for corn. You would basically just tap your button and go to the high setting when you're coming out of the row, and away you go. With a grass head, you're coming out of the row, so you're going to tap the right side. It's going to take it off the contour, put it back onto the height limit, raise the head up, just identical to what we were doing there. And when you go back into the row, you'll tap the other side. Okay? Questions about that? Yeah.
So on like I think it's our 491 machine, instead of having like how you said tensionometer, it'll have like just that little gauge right there that's got that's what that is.
That's what that is, yeah. Yeah. Difference between a 494 and a 492 machine is 494 doesn't have any of that switching stuff on the outside for changing heads. Okay? It's a load sense hydraulic system, so it's sensing the load on that hydraulic system and adjusting it accordingly for whatever weight of head. So there's, we don't have the rated drop screw, we don't have that switching valve for changing between a light and a heavy head. None of that. All you have to do is go into CBIS, into your display, and put in what head you have on. And then the machine will do everything else for you. Okay, so whether it's a 300 head or 380 Pro or a corn head, you just put in whatever head you have and away you go. It senses the rate of drop and adjusts everything accordingly. All right? Pretty simple, actually. Some of the things we run into is guys will be chopping along, they'll get to a heavy spot, or they'll get to, usually it's a wet hole, and they'll start bumping the head up a little bit. Every time you bump it up, just like on 492 machines, you're shutting contour off. And they'll forget to turn it right back on. Okay? So you got to remember that if you're going to bump it up with the up and down arrows, that you have to reach back over and flip that thing and turn contour back on. Okay? Nothing to it. Questions about contour? How many of you guys use your field crews, 494 guys? Anybody? Not a lot of people use it.
Use what?
Your field crews. That's that button there, that automatic button. Okay? You understand what it does?
There's a lot of things that don't miss. I'm either talking on the phone or doing something.
So is that like an autopilot, so you can sit back and eat your lunch and just let it do its thing then?
No, yeah. Give it another 10 years and they'll probably have that. Field crews is, I got to play with it quite a bit this last year, and wherever you find your chopping speed out in the field, and you're all happy with 3.5, 5.5, whatever miles an hour you're going, you press and hold the automatic button. It's going to, about 3 seconds again, it'll beep at you, and field cruise is on at that point. When you get to the end of the row, you pick up your head, speed up, and come around the corner, and you're about ready to dive in the row. You don't have to pull the lever back, you just hit the button, and it'll go right back to whatever that set point is. Once you have that all set, when you get to the end of the row, all you have to do is hit the button once, and it'll go to that faster speed wherever that lever's set, make your corner, hit it again, and it'll slow back down and dive right into the row. And then it'll keep a constant speed going across the field. Worked really good in grass, didn't work with the darn in corn. There's too many variables in corn. You were going fast and slowing down, and it really wasn't happy with it. But it's one less thing you got to do. Once you kind of get it set, it's just one button you got to hit when you make your headland turn, and so you're basically tapping on that and hitting that, and you're right back to your same working speed. Yeah, I would definitely use it. The other nice thing is that's tied right in with Cam Pilot as well as Road Track. So any of you guys that want to use, I got to run a machine this year that had Road Track in it, and yeah, let me tell you, I would buy a machine with Road Track. It was that nice. It was unbelievably nice. That field cruise is tied right into that as well. So you can set your speed and turn Road Track on and shoot right down your rows. Cam Pilot, guys that have them that I've talked to love them. I've never ran one yet. So I don't know. We're going to play with one tomorrow out here with a little course and some tires and see how it works. Supposedly it's quite a nice deal. Okay? Questions?
Is that standard equipment on the 494, or do you have to buy the key from Germany to open it up? The field crews.
Standard.
Okay.
Yep. No key from Germany on that. Yep.
But all you're doing is speed. It's not
That's
going
it.
on load and
Nope.
adjusting accordingly, speeding up, slowing down
Nope.
the RPM. Okay.
The only thing you have to do in CVIS is you have to actually go in here and turn it on or off. And every machine I've climbed into, they're always turned off. So you would go through, go to there, put a check mark for your cruise control constant speed, and away you go. And when you know you have it on, it highlights this little speedometer, German speedometer, And like right now, this one's set at 1.5 miles an hour, which is way too slow, but that's your set speed. You're not having to hunt with that lever to go find that speed that you just chopped at. You're able to just program it in, hit your field cruise button and go.
So David, if you're talking on the phone, you should probably take your hand off the joystick. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah. All right. So there's some really neat stuff out there now. You know, I love all the electronic stuff anyways. The test that Dwayne did with the moisture and yield meters was, I mean, yeah, amazing. Within a few pounds of what we were weighing trucks with. So yeah, the stuff's a lot more accurate than I thought it would be. Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Any questions? Questions about Contour? Everybody needs to use it.
Everybody understand why you should use it?
Yeah. What's pretty amazing is when you put 2,500 pounds of weight on that scale and you dial Contour all the way down to 0 and turn it on, how much it still unloads that weight. You know, even if, so in other words, if you don't even get it set right, still run Contour because you're still unloading a bunch of weight off that head. You know what I'm saying?
Because what lifts that head up and that feed rolls and cutter head up is 2 single acting cylinders. So basically by not using Contour, it pretty much dumps all that weight down because you're telling it to dump it all the way down. But by using Contour, it actually tells it pick it up a little bit, even if it's turned all the way down to 0.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have it set right, it's still easier on the head than not using it at all. And it allows it to, as your machine goes through dips and valleys, it allows it to float the same principle as a motor does in the float position versus having this mounted solid out in front of the machine and you go through a dip and the head takes it and or the machine picks it up and it's off the ground and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So how big of a dip will that, like if you hit a pretty good ditch, then will it still pick it up quite a bit enough to?
Well, because it's got suspension built into the head and has 14 inches of travel, it actually compensates for not using Contour. But it's not, and that's the reason why it works as good as it does without using Contour, is because of that factor. Otherwise, you'd be up and down and all over the place. But because of the suspension in it, it allows the head to flex. It's just like, you know, a car pickup or whatever going over a rough road or railroad tracks or whatever, it allows the vehicle to float versus having something that's mounted solid, no springs, no nothing.
Yeah. We had one of the past groups brought up a point of, well, how responsive is Contour like when you're coming up to an irrigation rut, you know, where you have some really sharp, short edges. Yeah, it's going to respond to that, but you know, at 5 miles an hour, you're going to be over it before you're done. You know, so you're better off to tap that button and move up to that higher set point, and then once you're over that, tap it again, lower it back down. You know, or else basically your gauge wheel is going to slam right into the edge of that ditch.
Because like Steve was saying, there's, and you can do it with this one too, there's actually, you can preset 2 different heights. It's the same thing that we do for a corn head, you preset 2 different heights. And so you're coming up to a rut, and instead of using the arrows the manual way, as I call it, to pick this thing up and guessing whether you got high enough or not, you can preset a height into it that picks that head up 6 or 8 inches for going out through the rough spot, and then hit it back again, and you're ongoing again, and the whole time contour's still on.
Yeah.
It hasn't shut off.
No.
So you don't have to remember to turn it back on again. Any more questions? Comments?
How many guys got 494 machines? 3, 4. 4.
Jason?
No, 492.
Oh, that's right. For the 491 and 492 guys, we went through the book and we translated 3 different contour systems into what we can understand. And this is what this is all about. On the top part of this page is about setting contour for a grass head. The bottom part is for setting it for a corn head. And the price is right, so anybody wants to take one of these along with them, is more than welcome to.
You got contour on your deer?
What's that? Anybody else?
They call it
I
float.
got my original one, my original.
David?
I don't know what they call it.
It, someone still applies.
It fits in the English version. That's why they had the English version.
What did you say? The copy bird? What did you supposed to? Or you come in and say something
He said we had 5 minutes, and that's probably been up.
10 minutes ago.
So we got one more group?
One more group, but I think we're gonna take a little coffee break first.